Hello there. The Telegraph claims that officials from the UK Home Office are to meet with members of the Reparations Commission of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM for short, to meet them in April to discuss the UK paying trillions in slavery reparations. Who does the Home Secretary David Lammy think he works for? Obviously not the UK taxpayer. And I don't remember that being in the Labour Party manifesto. Do you? And these budding reparations fleecers don't seem at all worried about places like Libya, where slavery is openly thriving today, do they? And the African Union, made up of 55 African countries, will be eyeing this one up with interest as it develops its own reparations strategy. Oh yes, they want their slice of us too. Now, CARICOM is the group that wants the UK taxpayer to pay them £18 trillion in slavery reparations. And the UK Home Office is headed up by David Lammy, who says things like this.
I'm afraid, as Caribbean people, we are not going to forget our history. We don't just want to hear an apology, we want reparation.
That one from Sky News in 2018, when Lammy was talking to a Windrush meeting. But it's not just him, is it? The Attorney General, Lord Hermer, said there was a moral and legal case for reparations, and Labour MPs Clive Lewis and Diane Abbott are in favour of it too. Every one of them determined to fight the corner of every state that wishes to either fleece us or destroy us. Although having Diane Abbott on your side when talking numbers and money might backfire on you. And Judge Patrick Robinson of the International Court of Justice is also vocal about the UK coughing up the dosh that, in his view, we are obliged to pay. I reckon we should be demanding payment from those who benefited from the UK state using the Royal Navy at great expense in personnel, material and money to destroy the slave trade. Now, the Home Office is categorically denying that any such meeting will take place, and Keir Starmer has said reparations will never be paid. So will all officials and Labour MPs be banned from attending any such meeting in either an official or personal capacity? But Starmer and his government have, in my view, lied about national insurance, lied about the winter fuel allowance, lied about council tax rises, lied about growth, lied about immigration, lied about net zero, lied about Chagos. What haven't they lied about is the real question. So there is little to convince me that they are not also lying about the UK taxpayer not paying reparations for something the current taxpayers did not do. I foresee a meeting in April stuffed with hand-wringing woke lefties from the officialdom and the Houses of Parliament, all agreeing with CARICOM and demanding the 18 trillion be doubled or tripled. Backed up by the lefty press saying how wonderful it will be to be relieved of all that dosh we could spend on, I don't know, defence or health. Now, Lammy has previously said that the form of reparations doesn't necessarily mean a transfer of cash. No, we could spend billions on free-to-them health and education programmes, for example. Silly Lammy doesn't realise even that costs money. I bet he sees it as a way of boosting employment and the tax take. You know, the UK taxpayer having to hire people to go to the Caribbean as teachers, doctors and nurses. Or taxpayer-funded builders to go out there taking UK-bought materials with them to build their whole infrastructure for them. All for free, of course. Whichever way you slice it up, the UK taxpayer would be on the hook for billions or trillions, for decades, maybe even centuries, who knows? And as I said earlier, right now, anyone with a gripe against the UK will be looking to get on the bandwagon. And there are enough stupid virtue signallers within the establishment to keep their hopes alive. With another of the loons being that useless former Labour MP, now independent, Jeremy Corbyn. That should tell you all you need to know about how stupid this whole idea is. Now, David Lammy was born in London, but in that earlier video, he calls himself Caribbean, doesn't he? Just to remind you, here it is again.
I'm afraid, as Caribbean people, we are not going to forget our history. We don't just want to hear an apology, we want reparation.
Yeah, so there you have it. Does that mean Lammy's loyalties lie outside of the UK, even though he was born in London? We, as the British voters and taxpayers, have a right to know where ministers place their real loyalties. And we also have the right to expect someone with external loyalties to not be selected to become a Minister of State. In fact, why should someone with an open hostility to the UK even be allowed to be an MP? Isn't it strange that the only time a politician has to make the loyal oath is after they're elected and inside Westminster? Maybe they should be making that oath when they submit their election papers, with swearing the loyal oath being a requirement for your name to even be allowed on the ballot paper. Why not? But of course, dishonesty is so rife, they'll probably swear the oath anyway and then ignore it. Like that SNP MP who crossed his fingers childishly.
Name and constituency.
Stephen Bonner, Coatbridge, based in Belsall.
Do you wish to swear or affirm?
Affirm.
So if you read that text.
Can I get a Bible?
If you...
If you're doing the affirmation, you don't take a Bible?
Yes,
Good,
yeah, you
that's
don't
fine.
have a religious text.
I do solemnly sincerely and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Your Majesty the Queen Elizabeth, her heirs and successors according to law. Take this oath to ensure that I can represent the people of Coatbridge, Price and Belsall in Scotland.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What a sad sack. Unless we make the obvious breach of the loyal oath a by-election triggering event, this sort of thing will continue. We really must take more care when electing these charlatans. Now, as inward migration continues to surge, which it will, the pressure for reparations can only increase, with many newcomers hoping for a new life, coupled with a sizable windfall too. And as a side note, I sometimes wonder if this mass surge of newcomers is just part of a secret reparations by other means policy by the uniparty establishment under WEF guidance. All backed by those growing demographic-based special interest groups growing within our government departments. And while people like Lammy and Herman are lurking within the establishment, their national decline will always be on the cards, using that decolonisation phrase to keep the anti-UK woke idiots on side. Now, can you imagine a David Lammy-run Labour government with Lammy as Prime Minister? Thank goodness that prospect looks extremely unlikely at present. But it could happen, and that's the worrying thing. And as I've already said, these reparations chancers don't seem worried about modern-day slavery. Here's what walkfree.org says on its website. An estimated 50 million people are living in situations of modern slavery on any given day in 2021, according to the latest global estimates of modern slavery. Of these people, approximately 27.6 million were in forced labour and 22 million were in forced marriages. So that tells a big story, doesn't it? And here are the countries that appear in their top 10 list. The 10 countries with the highest prevalence of modern slavery are North Korea, Eritrea, Mauritania, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Tajikistan, United Arab Emirates, Russia, Afghanistan, and Kuwait. And China gets a mention too. Here's what they say about China. There are also reports of North Korean women being lured or coerced into leaving the country to be sold as brides in China. Women who escape from those situations and return to North Korea often face punishment by the authorities rather than receiving support as victims of bride trafficking. Well, who do you think should be paying reparations right now for crimes they're committing right now? Reparations fleecing is all about targeting the soft, woke countries like the UK, where slavery hasn't been practiced for centuries, just to make an easy buck while ignoring the huge modern-day slavery elephant in the room. We need to derail this UK-hating reparations bandwagon.